What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is flat, 239 the low, 247 the high, but very low volume. So 20.8 million shares being traded, 159 is the average. Of that 20 or 21 million shares, a good chunk of that is linked to shorts. So shorts are trying their very best to hit Lucid hard prior to their upcoming earnings, which is at the end or after hours today. I'm going to be live streaming that on a side note, so I'll go over some Cole's notes and whatever else. But as far as right now, shorts are increasing 4.98 million shares. 30.55% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 383.51 million shares overall being shorted. So I think their plan is to really hit Lucid below that 50-day moving average, as I've kind of mentioned, because they are throwing everything that they have at Lucid. Even right now, it went from around 9.2 million shares available to 453. So they're using everything that they can to really throw at Lucid right now. So we'll kind of have to wait and see if Lucid does hold. I know the broader market was fairly optimistic first thing, but Trump started to kind of signal that he wants to go after Europe and also India for kind of various tariff things. So that might increase from about 30 to 35%. So not really all that great. So I think the market doesn't like Trump clearly talking about tariffs. But when it comes down to the macro data that came out today, balance of trade came in at negative 60.2 billion. So better than the forecast. So I think in general, that's a good thing, but clearly not enough for Trump to be somewhat satisfied with a lot of the progress. So something to keep in mind, but specific to Lucid, there isn't anything associated to it coming out. No news, no SEC filings, no speculative topics. So everyone's just pretty much waiting for their upcoming earnings. Current estimates are negative 22 cents for the earnings per share, 264.74 million for the revenue. And then over the last 90 days, you have 8 positive and 1 negative revisions to the earnings per share. So the bar is set very, very low for Lucid. But as I've mentioned, it's going to be more so the future guidance rather than the key metrics that the market does care about. And a lot of the kind of things that Wall Street's going to be looking at is, are they going to reiterate their 20,000 target? If they are going to cut it, pretty much now, like this is a quarter to do it in. So that's going to be something. Gravity ramp up. What's up with that? Just the whole Uber deal, dilution, and also reverse stock split. So those are going to be some of the hot topics. Of course, I think I'm missing maybe one or two things, but you guys get the gist of it. It's going to be the future guidance and how they talk on all of those. That's going to be seen as either a positive or a negative. But shorts right now are trying to hit it hard below that 50-day moving average. So that right now is currently, I'll give you a quick summary of that. So $2.37. So that is exactly that 50-day moving average. And conveniently, that's where it bounced off of for today. 241 is that 100-day moving average. So Lucid's kind of flirting with that. So Lucid shorts are trying to break it. They've done this time and time again. So every time Lucid does show a lot of signs that it wants to break out, it just gets crazily dragged down. It gets dragged down, I think, initially. So what happens is shorts break it below these key moving averages. Then they just sit back and let algos do the majority of the work afterwards. So I think that's what their plan is, but Lucid's earnings is going to be a volatile one. On a positive note, stochastic RSI is very oversold, so potentially if Lucid does put out some groundbreaking news, you could really see a nice push higher because of that. So it's going to be a lot of volatility, and ultimately this is why I've brought up these 2 points. So 260 and then 207 as the next strong support and resistance points, and most likely in the next 24 hours, one of those two is going to be hit. So just be aware of that. But moving on, looking at the options, 631,000 in calls, 163,000 in puts. So kind of low volume, similar to the common stock. 49% of all the options being done, though, are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see consensus for it to be above 3 for this week, and then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 2, again matching with the overall crazy volatile upcoming earnings. The implied move from their earnings is roughly around 11.72%, so a 30% or 30-cent move in either direction is anticipated. Right now, you actually conveniently do see some institutions buying, but of course not all that much. So these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So 4 of which are buys, 1 is sell. The one sell is $300,000, but clearly big money, I think, is just waiting for Lucid's upcoming earnings just to either buy in or potentially sell off or whatever else. On a interesting, maybe kind of inverse type of scenario, Lucid always does put out good news and has kind of a good performance from their earnings when the market is selling off. So the fact that the market's starting to pull back right now, maybe that is a sign that Lucid is going to beat on their earnings. That way it'll get pressure under the rug. It's kind of just stupid how that always does play out, but again, maybe that's inversely what's happening. Dark pool, very quiet stuff. So algos are the big force for today, just to keep in mind. No new analyst ratings, and then no articles really coming out. So everyone's just holding their breath, waiting for Lucid to hopefully whisper some sweet nothings of amazingness, some partnerships, or anything, because Mark really did hype up Lucid's earnings. And this is something that I think Peter always did. He dangled carrots or Easter eggs in front of investors, but pretty much no partnerships, nothing came to fruition under him. Mark similarly is starting to amp up and was amping up through a lot of interviews this earnings. So there's a lot of high expectations. I think it's still, people are trying to digest Mark as the interim CEO. Like, what is his role? Is he going to be the permanent CEO, or are they going to be kind of doing that? I know that's been something some individuals have brought up, but keep in mind the CFO, it took them a good year, a little bit longer than a year, to replace Sherry House. So Gagnon was the interim CFO for a while. So don't anticipate Mark to be replaced anytime soon. If anything, it might be maybe Q1 2026 possibly, or maybe late Q4. We'll just have to wait and see. But clearly Lucid now knows not to just spring it on investors during an earnings, not to say, hey, like, Mark's no longer the interim CEO. It's going to be 𝗖𝗧𝗛, for instance. So yeah, we'll just have to kind of sit tight and wait. So I'm going to be live streaming the earnings roughly 10 minutes before. I'll go over a lot of the quick things from their earnings that at least stands out to me. But yeah, should be a very volatile time. Let me know your thoughts, and if you plan on buying more or if you're selling, what's your kind of thoughts going into the earnings? And aside from some of the hot topics that I did mention, was there anything that I did miss that you are really going to be paying attention to? And I think the expectations from retail post questions is just nothing. Like, probably, I'm sure Mark and them are laughing like, hey, they want to know about the reverse stock split when we just actually have a shareholder meeting in a week's time almost about this. It's just, I don't know, kind of comical stuff. But goes to show the level of intelligence of the average retail investor isn't always there. And this is why shorts, as I've signaled in the past, love to target stocks that are primarily held by retail. I think that's a pretty good correlation in reality. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Discord, completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need. A lot of big Lucid investors in there as well. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.